Lloyd Jones, LLOYD JONES. Some bad condition. Some bad condition. Some very bad condition. And I don't see it getting any better. I mean, as far as like what the government and all this what's going on, it get worse before it get better. As far as I see. Yeah, we need more of these bookstores around. I mean, you got children's books back there for kids. You got highly intellectual books, for thinkers, and and it ain't enough. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't. I'd be proud to see a lot of these bookstores around. But as far as like the consciousness of the people as a collective, though, I see a lot of consciousness uprising within the black community. You know, it starts small, but then it gets bigger. So that's where the hope is at. A lot of us think that our history began with slavery, and a lot of us think that we ain't never accomplished anything great, and it's not true. And as far as like the Europeans, they kind of like they never really told our history, and we need more of these bookstores, to like put us on, telling our history.
Well, Marcus Books represents the intellectual, the wisdom legacy of black people. And the wisdom legacy of black people is the wisdom legacy of all people, because it is the mother of everyone else and the oldest civilization. And to the extent that we don't know that it's the mother of us, is saying something about the times not respecting its origin and its center and its beginning. And it's a day where the word primitive, which means prime, is has a negative connotation. But it's the core of all of us. And keeping track of the core is keeping track of the history of all civilization. It's been 2,000 years of lying, 2,000 years of destruction, and it was just basically a time to die, and that's what you get when it's time to die. And our black part, we've been cut off from that. Black people have been cut off from it. White folks have been cut off from their humanity, because if you can't access the black, you cannot access your humanity. It's the only way you get there. But it's a time when the wisdom itself is negated, taken out of class, consciously removed, consciously put down. So in one aspect, we would have the solution, and on the other aspect, our solution is something that repels people. One thing, I think when he died, I think everybody picked up a germ of him. And now we all have some Martin Luther King in us. We all have some Malcolm X in us. Part of the scenario of the 60s was a sampling of these next 2,000 years where things will be unified again. So I would guess that in his separation and in his distance from this earthly reality, he would see it as a natural movement of life, where things died, decayed. So we're in the decay part right now. And I think he would see it as decay. And in decay, where all the parts of the self and civilizations and structures fall down to the ground, it's what nourishes the seed. And the thicker the decay, the more fecund it is, the more fertile the soil is. And it was 2,000 years of that. Lying, decay, war, hatred. And that's the ground in which seeds of a new time grow. They grow on the decay of something else. So, I love my people. I like them to be doing well, but, Right now, pretty much we suck. I make a note on the word civilization. As John Henry Clark says, it's based on the word civil. It doesn't mean tall buildings. It doesn't mean electronics and plugging things in. It doesn't mean that kind of technology. It means being civil. And civil means peace. So we talk about technology, we're talking about living in peace. And things have not been civil, with or without our tall buildings and our cars and our pollution and all this decay that really has come out of it, right? So the humanity part, so we all went through this death part. And part of the rebirth part is writing your own script for the future. And humanity right now is in seed form. It's in seed down in the fertilizer of life, surrounded by crap, and everything decaying is still falling on us, right? So the hope part, which is symbolic of these coming times, which is the wave that Obama rode in on, he didn't make it up. It's actually part of the weather of today. Exist when you are just seed, surrounded by crap, and in that underground situation, you don't know which way is up. Hope lets you know which way is up. It's pretty vital, huh? And so, with the hope, even while you're surrounded by decay, you know you're going to grow. You know that the world will be as you write it. Well, because black is the most maligned word in the English language, even more than the word devil, it's very difficult to want to investigate it for positive reasons. So people who have been blessed with the opportunity to think for themselves, past that thick layer of stereotype, come through the door. So the clientele has a lot of inner strength and a lot of integrity, and we can provide them, if whatever they're researching to further the needs of humanity, we can find that for them. And it's a place where you can ask, and it's a place where you're at home with your difference. I'll say, like in the 50s, we really out of slavery, good jobs, pretty much everybody's employed, everybody's going to school. Still hadn't healed by the slavery, which was some pretty horrible stuff. It's going to take a minute on that, right? Mm-hmm. And part of not healing from slavery is not embracing our African part like everybody else. The PR on Africa was Tarzan, and it was embarrassing. We wanted to be a African. We were, part French, part Cherokee, part Irish, every part but African. And that's what you get after you've been oppressed and you're ashamed of the position of slavery. By the way, I would also like to add that everybody's been a slave. Mm-hmm. Came from the word Slavic. I think everyone should embrace that. But pretty much black people are kind of stuck with the stereotype, healing from it, right? So 50s, we're not really proud of our African part. But we do like ourselves, even though, right? So the 60s, which was the dawning of the age of Aquarius, is this ready or not, everyone's conscience is open. And that includes humanity and a serious need not to be oppressed. So the mind is open. We have two hands, one giving, the Martin Luther King one, and we have another hand like, don't abuse my family. I'm a man and I will take you out. that's a necessary thing. So the 60s made us conscious of those needs. One to be loving, one to give, and one to take. And those are represented by Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So the generation after them, say they grew up in the 80s, grew up on a platform of knowing these two consciousness that we weren't aware of in the 50s. So the 50s, I'm just trying to fit in. The 60s, what action should I take about the humanity situation I'm in? Mm-hmm. And then kids in the 80s grew up aware of that, so they grew up on that was their ground level, and it's assumed that these are two things to deal with. So the assumption that they grew up is how they inherited the thinking of both of them, as we all did. Probably you all do as well. Huh? You all know you have this Malcolm side, and you know you have a Martin Luther King side. You have a giving side, a taking side, a passive side, and a side that needs to defend when attacked, right? So those are things we inherited particularly from those icons. What to do with it is still a dilemma. We're still working on that part, because you want to keep your humanity, and can you keep it by being passive when your family is attacked? Is that what human means? That's a question. For anyone that hurts, you don't have a choice, you just hurt. So to keep from hurting because you're one, you know, like if we're tied together like a Siamese twin thing, if you're in pain, I'm going to be in pain. So it's a practical and selfish reason to be concerned with everybody else's pain. Huh? So it's the pain that black people go through, and that everybody goes through. All the hungry kids there are in the world, it's a part of the same pain. So that part of us cries for all of that. And humanity is also a verb. You can't have a part of your arm hurting, you have to take action on it. For the most part, we're like sparrows. The media is hawks. We can't even conceive that people would make up things. Well, you know, young black men are gangsters. I mean, when was the last time you saw a young black man with a job, taking care of his family, just being a normal person? That's most of them. But we're stuck with this media thing. All art is propaganda. Whatever you put on the media, you don't put what is. Everybody already knows what is. You put what you want people to believe. And we need to learn how to look past the mask. So a good part about truth is truth comes this way. So truth is actually that black night sky speaking to you. So when the mind is open, then the truth comes in. Truth doesn't come from the ground up. Facts come from the ground up. Truth just comes. When the mind is open, it just gets you. So here I am, the seed underground. It's all dark, it's all stank, it's all chaotic, and maybe hope is a light that says, okay, grow this way, come this way, huh? And that's the direction of truth. And if we keep growing that way, wanting to, we'll be okay.